We're going to talk a little bit about food labels today, as it can be kind of daunting and overwhelming when you're at the grocery store. For most people, grocery shopping is a chore. It's not something that we go out of our way to do. It's just something that we need to check off of our to-do list. And on top of just trying to get it done, sometimes we have distractions while we're at the store. And while some of them may be cute, this is one of my distractions that comes with. We have plenty of other things that we're worrying about. We just kind of want to get in, get our things, and leave. But when we look at all the labels, sometimes we can just think, what is it that I should be buying today? Because if you go to pick up one thing, there are 20 different options for everything on your list. So take a look at the items on your guys' tables. Every table has a few different things. So if you take a look at what's on your tables, looks like they have chicken broth over there. So if you have chicken broth on your list, it seems like just a simple thing that you're going to go look at, and you're going to grab one off the shelf. But there's a number of them on there. What are some of the labels that are on your chicken broth that you see that could be trying to influence you to buy their product?
Gluten-free.
Gluten-free. What else is on there?
Plenty of sodium.
Yes, sodium. Anything else stand out? On the tan color. Yes. Organic. That box also has free range, organic free range chicken broth. And so if you look at all of your other ones, there are lots of different labels that are trying to kind of capture your attention and get you to purchase their product over the other ones in the store. So understanding what those labels mean is important, because you need to know what it is that you are looking for while you're shopping, if it matters to you as a consumer, and what those definitions are of those labels. And sometimes what's even more important is if that label is differentiating it from the other products on the shelves. So one popular label that we run into is organic. So what does organic mean? It's produced without excluded methods. This is a label that is done through the USDA. So if somebody's going to be selling organic produce, or in general anything that is certified organic, they have gone through a process with the USDA. They have an application period. They have to, it takes a 3-year process to transition their farm from conventional to organic. And there are strict guidelines that they have to abide by to obtain this organic certification. So it's overseen by the USDA, and it's just a way for you as a consumer to kind of understand the production practices that have went into place for those products. It does not reflect nutritional value or anything of that standpoint. If you wanted to see nutritional value, you need to compare the nutritional label on the side of the package. This label is directly reflecting production practice. And with that, there's actually 3 different kind of categories of organic. And so you can have 100% organic, which means all products are organic in that product. If it simply says organic, that means 95% or more of the ingredients are organic. And if it indicates that it's made with organic ingredients, that means 70% of the ingredients in that product are certified organic. Also, organic food handlers and processors, so the companies that they work with to get the product to you, they also have to adhere to some strict standards in order for that product. So in order for the organic chicken broth or the organic SpaghettiOs, for any of that to make its way to the shelf in the store, all people in the food chain have to be abiding by a certain set of standards. So, but there are other labels, which is why this all gets super confusing. So there is a certified naturally grown label, and this label is not done through the USDA. This is a label that was started by a group of farmers in 2002. And this label is used with a peer-to-peer certification process. So this label is different from the USDA organic label. There's also a transitional label, which is the 3rd one over here. And this is a new label that's kind of in development. And this is a label that may be available to the farmers who are in that 3-year transitional period of changing from conventional farming practices to organic. and a regenerative organic certified label, which I had not seen until working on this presentation, but it is available. And this is through the Rodale Institute, and it's developed by a task force. And in general, the farmers that have this certification follow the USDA organic standards. But this certification is only available to farmers who, according to the Rodale Institute, practice with holistic systems, meaning that they have to have livestock and crops on their farms. So kind of keeping all of this in mind when you are shopping, hopefully this will help you kind of have a better idea of what these labels mean to you and your family, and if it's something for you that may or may not be worth paying a premium for, because oftentimes these products are going to come at a premium price. Natural is a label that we see often. I think somebody said natural was listed on one of these over here. So natural is not a label that's regulated. So it's not regulated by the FDA or the USDA. So this label can oftentimes get a little muddy. Who is saying what is on here is natural and what does natural mean? So sometimes it can mean no artificial flavors, no preservatives, no artificial sugars, no artificial colors, but there is no guideline dictating whether or not that is exactly what that label means. So when you see the word natural on there, just keep in mind that what natural means to you as the shopper or you, the consumer, might not mean the same as what the company putting the label on there intended it to be. GMOs. This is also a really popular label right now. There's a lot of people who are seeking information about GMOs, and they want to know if there's GMOs or genetically modified or otherwise known as genetically engineered organisms. So the first thing I think that's helpful for everybody to know is that there's only 10 crops available that are genetically modified. And so keep that in mind when you're grocery shopping, because let's take a moment here to take a look. So let's keep this list in mind, that there's squash, cotton, soybeans, corn, papaya, alfalfa, sugar beets, canola, potato, and apples. Well, let's take a look at the photos below there. If you're at the store and you see that GMO popcorn GMO-free popcorn costs more than a box or a container next to it that's not labeled that way, all popcorn is naturally GMO-free, because that's not a product that's on the market that has been modified. So be aware when you're shopping about what it is that is available, because sometimes these labels are helpful and they're informational if it's referring to some of the products that are available, but sometimes it just adds to the confusion by making it seem that maybe the competitor's product is inferior to their own, when really it's the same, because they are not GM carrots at all. So it's having one with a GM-free label does not differentiate it from the other. So be aware of that so that you're not paying premium prices for a non-premium product that's been produced in a different way. So the most common label that you're going to find with the GMO is this non-GMO verified project, and this is the label that is a third-party label, and it's the largest growing food label on the market right now. And so when you're at the store, when I was out shopping, I bought all of these products that are on your table. I bought them all at County Market the other day, and when I was looking for food labels, this one was really easy to find. I could find this on most shelves somewhere. Some of the other labels I had to seek a little harder to find. But there are more than 43,000 products from over 3,000 different companies out there with the non-GMO Project Verified label. But like I said before, that doesn't necessarily mean it's differentiating it from other GM products. It's just a product that's been verified to have been produced without genetically engineered processes, even though that their competitors may or may not. That doesn't have bearing on whether or not they get that label. And it also does not mean GMO-free, because number one, they don't have the ability to test for GMO, so they can't say GMO-free. And they also cannot guarantee GMO-free, because it could come into trace contact with various different things over the course of the production. So this just means that through the best of their ability, they can see that they have gone out of their way to ensure that their product has been produced this way, but there could be trace elements that come into it. So moving on to kind of the animal side, when you're shopping for eggs, you can run across a lot of different labels on eggs as well. I would say one of our most common ones that we see with eggs is cage-free. And so what does cage-free mean? Cage-free eggs come from hens that are raised in open space. And when I say open space, I don't necessarily mean outdoors open space, I just mean open space. They could be inside a large building, but they're not raised in a cage like some other production methods are. We also see free range, and that is a version of cage-free, but when they say free range, that means that they have to have access to the outdoors. And a lot of times when we say access to the outdoors, they still are inside kind of a large building with large open space, but there are kind of door access points where they can go out into a caged area to be outside if they want to, and they can come back in at their will. And the other label that you can see, and this probably ventures a little bit more into maybe some of like your beef or maybe your pork products, would be pasture raised. And this is not a label that's regulated by the USDA, but when we say pasture raised, this is going to be similar to the fact that they're outdoors and they have access to outside, but typically it's much more of a free access than what the free range concept has. Other animal-based product labels that we run into. So there's grass-fed and grass-finished. And so when you hear grass-fed beef and grass-finished beef, grass-fed beef means that at some point in that animal's life, they've been on pasture and have had grass. And grass-finished beef means that typically it's spent its entire life on pasture. So imagine where we are here in Illinois. We're not a great area for grass-finished beef. I mean, right now there is no grass available. So the animals that are grown around here, they spend probably the entire summer out on pasture, and then they get put in on a feedlot during the winter time, or they're out on corn stalks, or they're somewhere else, but they're not consuming grass this time of year. So that would qualify them to be considered grass-fed because they're getting grass in the summer, but they're not grass-finished because they're also getting corn and other supplemental diets, especially this time of year where that's their primary feed source. Raised without antibiotics. So this is something that people often have questions about or maybe have concerns about. Especially when you read the label, it kind of sounds scary, like I don't want to eat anything that's got antibiotics sitting in it. So when you see a label, and I'm trying to think of which product it was, it might have been the macaroni and cheese or something. One of these products says that they were raised without administering antibiotics. And so what that on that product is saying is that the cows that produce the cheese for their product was not administered antibiotics at any point during their life while working with that company. And one thing that I would like you as a consumer to know is, one, that likely, I would feel pretty confident saying, that could be a very common situation for a lot of animals. Administering antibiotics is something that's usually done only with caution and only in case of illness. Just like with us humans, we aren't going out of our way to just take antibiotics on a regular basis. It's only done on a case-by-case, as-needed basis. So in those instances, no antibiotics have been administered at all. And then in a case maybe where it would say, there could be some that would say antibiotic-free, could be the same way. But I as a consumer personally would not be concerned about antibiotic use from the standpoint that there is a requirement, and it varies depending on each individual product administered, and the farmers work closely with their local veterinarians, and they have requirements on withdrawal time. So if they administer an antibiotic, they are not allowed to process that animal within a certain amount of time, because that product needs to be entirely out of that animal's system before it can enter our food supply. And that product withdrawal time varies depending on what it is they're administering. And so on top of the fact that there is that requirement, there is also a testing process in place that after the food is into the food chain, there are tests that are done along the way to ensure that all of this is safe and that everything is safe for us consumers, and if something would be found, it is traceable back, and they can remove that from the food system. So raised without antibiotics, if that's something that you as a consumer are interested in making and supporting, that is a product that was not administered antibiotics. However, the animals that receive antibiotics, it's usually only on a situation where they are sick. And then in some instances, when there is a kind of like an illness going through maybe an entire herd, it could be treated to try to eliminate the illness from the herd so that it doesn't spread more. But there are safeguards in place to ensure that we people are not consuming anything harmful from that manner. Hormone-free is also another product, which also, when you encounter the label, can kind of be intimidating. So the first thing I would like to share is I would not recommend paying premium prices for any poultry that is labeled hormone-free, because it is illegal to administer growth hormones to poultry. So if you have two chicken products, one that's labeled hormone, like no added hormones, and one that is not labeled that, if the one is costing more, there's no added benefit, because none of the chicken or turkey, no poultry on the market can be given additional hormones. So there is no no added benefit, especially if there's a price difference. You're not getting anything different because it's not allowed. There is, so if you do encounter no added hormones in beef, that is something that there are some farmers and some practices do have like a growth hormone that they can do, and I have a little table set up over here on the back, and so I'm doing this off the top of my head, so I hope it's correct. The naturally occurring hormones that are in your beef, I believe, is 1.3 nanograms per 3 ounces. And if you would have, that's beef without added growth hormone. And if there is one with, it's 1.9 nanograms, so it's slightly more. And all of that is less than what peas and potatoes naturally have occurring in them. So it is a very small portion that comes through in the meat, and it's actually less than what naturally occurs in vegetables as well. So there, I have just a little display over there. If you wanted to go take a look at that before you leave, please feel free to do so. So ultimately, the goal today is just to help everybody become an informed shopper, because there's a lot of information, and at the end of the day, the information on the front of the packages, that is the company's way of trying to get you to buy their product and not somebody else's. So you understanding what all the labels are should help you buy what is important to you, important to your family, and not necessarily pay more when it's not required, because we don't want to pay more for boneless bananas, because we know that they're all boneless. So be aware, be prepared, and if you want to know that how they compare on kind of a fact-to-fact, the best label to read is really their nutritional label, and not their marketing labels on the front. So are there any questions? And if not, I'm going to do a promotion here quick. If this is a topic that interests you, I'm working with the Lee County Farm Bureau, working with the Carroll and Whiteside County Farm Bureau, and there's little postcards, and you're welcome to take them. We're having a free screening of a food evolution documentary, which is a science-based documentary featuring the topic of GMOs. So this would be a great opportunity. It's free to attend. It's on Wednesday, March 21st. We just require advanced registration to attend, and Following the documentary, there'll be a panel discussion featuring 2 local farmers and a biologist from Northern Illinois University. So I would encourage you to attend or inform other people about it who this topic might help. And if you have questions that come to mind, feel free to stop and ask me afterwards. But thank you.